Welcome back, everyone. This is Kevin Jacob from FE Code, and we have Miguel Rojas with us. And without taking any time from Miguel, it's all to you. Let's start diving. Before we go in, let me just remind everybody to use the Q&A and chat so that as soon as the session ends, we can take questions. Over to you, Miguel.
Thanks. I'm gonna try to start sharing my screen.
Yeah, I'll screen is
Okay,
visible.
awesome. Just let me give me a sec. Great. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's visible. You're ready to go.
Okay. Data management in Kubernetes, is that what you see, Kevin?
Yep, yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi everybody. I hope you had a great session today so far. So I am Miguel Rojas, cloud architect for the EMEA region, covering Portworx and cloud native technology. I'm based in Spain. Company. I was working as a solution architect for Red Hat for 5 years. So I'm glad to be here today. So today, as you know, you've seen the abstract of this talk. We'll be talking about the data challenges in Kubernetes, right? But before I go and I dig in, I usually like to start with some context. What the numbers that you see in this screen is a CNCF survey run in 2021, and the 92% of the respondents said that they use containers in production, right? So as you read in the abstract, this is not something that's a trend or that's something that's fashionable. Everybody is there at the moment, right? It's pretty mainstream. So you see every company is spending, a lot of companies spending a lot of millions in container technologies, right? So if it's actually from 2016, it's a 300% growth. So you can basically tell that this is not something that's a trend, right? But what we see, or I see in my customers when I was working at Red Hat, now at Pure Storage, is that there are challenges, right? Challenges come when you start adopting new technologies. And one of the biggest challenges for companies, as you can see in this slide, is storage and security, right? And whether refactoring or lifting and shifting, there is a clear modernization agenda in most organizations I work with. So when they try to modernize, they think it's going to be from zero to hero, and it's going to be very easy. But then the challenges start coming, and it's like, oh, so when they go from stateful to from stateless to stateful applications, they realize there are challenges. It starts to get really tough there. So, in order to tackle all these challenges, companies realize that they have to get to a cloud native approach. And as all we know in this conference or in this session, Kubernetes is the tool to become cloud native. Most of the companies already realize that. They know they're investing millions of euros doing it. And what Kubernetes basically offers you is optimized world multi-cloud environment, because once you deploy this application in a container, you can move it. You can also scale it from 2, 3 pods to 1,000 pods for an application that requires a lot of resources, right? And then it's pluggable architecture, right? So you can be moving your app, and it's application centric. It's not the infra that we care a lot about, right? Because Kubernetes is deployable everywhere. It's the application centric. The application is the king, right? But data services are not ready for these, right? For this movement. So Portworx was born just to tackle all these challenges, right? Basically, at a high level, Portworx is a software-defined storage overlay built for Kubernetes, right? We know in this industry, CSI is a very popular solution, but CSI was born 3 years ago. Portworx was born 6 years ago, right? Before the CSI was born, because we wanted to tackle the data services challenges for Kubernetes, right? So as I was saying, it creates kind of a layer of abstraction over traditional storage and provides persistent block and file container volumes for storing application data. Now, just like Kubernetes, Portworx is completely agnostic. This is key for a lot of companies. You don't want to be relying on a specific infrastructure or specific Kubernetes distribution, because once you try one, you start trying others, right? And you need this solution to be agnostic. So it runs on any infrastructure environment, supports any cloud and any Kubernetes distribution. It's basically designed to support any stateful application, which is key for accelerating those application modernization projects that I was mentioning before. So when you deploy Portworx, it pulls and aggregates any underlying block storage system and layers on top of data control operated through the Kubernetes API. So it talks with Kubernetes. They are basically cousins, right? They talk to each other. They understand because they speak the same language. Portworx now offers a holistic solution for data and Kubernetes. So backup, disaster recovery, migration between clusters, and security and autopilot. Right? Autopilot is basically a feature that comes out of the box with Portworx and resizes the volumes automatically for you when an application requires more resources. Right? And if you are just learning about us, we're the leaders in this space, and we've been recognized by GCAM in two recently published reports, 3 years in a row, as both leader in cloud native data storage and enterprise Kubernetes standards. In their report, GCAM called Portworx as the gold standard for Kubernetes storage. Right. So I don't want to stop a lot and take a lot of time in this marketing stuff, but I just want to know that not only we think we are the leaders, but the market and our customers think we are the leaders because we cover all these challenges from Kubernetes, right? Let's talk about the Portworx capabilities and how it works in production. So when you deploy Portworx, it's just a pod running in your Kubernetes cluster, as you see in this graphic. You see three workers here. Portworx is going to be deployed as an operator. It's going to deploy a pod of Portworx in every node. That's going to create this abstraction layer of storage. And then it's, as I said before, it's totally app centric. So you can have this container volume granular. It doesn't matter the storage that you have because infrastructure agnostic. You can have NetApp in your data center, and maybe you want to use your workloads in the cloud. Well, use Portworx, so you can save a lot of money by using the storage that you have in clouds and deploy your applications in the cloud because maybe you have that in your roadmap as a company. We have a lot of use cases that Portworx is fixed in production. I'll get a little bit more technical, okay? So because Portworx is application aware, it really offers HA for data. So it guarantees that data is available and protected in Kubernetes environment. So when one of your nodes is going down, Portworx is going to be able to know that and basically relocate your application in an available node, but not only the app, but also the PVC of that application, which offers real HA, right? And that's what would you want. When you're working in production, you don't want to be taking care of your data and your application and all these layers that Kubernetes comes with. And Portworx is here to help. And also because you're able to manage storage more efficiently, you're able to multiply the density of your application. So way more apps by cluster and by node because you don't need to over provision and use all the storage that you have provided for that cluster or that node because you're able to manage data more efficiently. Okay. Please, by the way, if you have any question, there is a Q&A box. Feel free to drop me any line or just drop me an email. I'll be happy to answer questions. Okay. Then one of the needs that we see in customers share volumes. Power is able to provide this technology that we call share before that will give you access to the same volume for different applications. As you can see in this graphic, there is only one volume used, but there are several applications querying that same volume. Okay. This is one of the key things that I see in my customer requirements because imagine you're a bank or you are an insurance company, you are a media company that really cares about disaster recovery. No one in the market is actually offering disaster recovery and even less with the numbers that we do, right? So we offer Metro synchronous data replication, with an RPO of 0 and an RTO of 5 minutes. Okay. This is key for companies that really offer a production service for customers. You cannot be offering a service that's in production that offers customer service to happy customers that want to buy your service, and then suddenly your service goes down. How do you think your customer is going to feel, right? They are paying money for this service and they don't have it. So RPO 0 and RPO 0 and RTO 5 minutes. But then you can have one of your data centers in Paris, for example, and another of your data center in London in AWS. Just giving an example, okay? Because again, we don't care where you have your cluster. We don't care the distribution of Kubernetes that you're using. It could be OpenShift, could be EKS. We don't care, because this is again just an operator running in your Kubernetes cluster. You don't need to adapt for our needs. We adapt to your needs. So as I was saying, you can have your cluster data center in London, another one in Paris, and you need to replicate the data, and you need to offer disaster recovery between all these zones and regions. But we're able to tackle all these challenges. I'll get a little bit more technical in terms of architecture. Okay, I'm not going to stop a lot of time in these because I want to show you guys how Portworx works in a short, like 20 minutes demo. So Portworx runs on the host within a container. Okay, so it's very lightweight. So both on CPU and memory, designed to run alongside applications. You don't need to dedicate an entire cluster just for Portworx. Okay, you can run your applications together with Portworx. It's just an operator. It's not going to use a lot of resources because Portworx basically runs within an OCA run C container, and is basically constrained to the resources, so memory, CPU, and network available within the container. So it doesn't have any dependency on the host, as well as being scheduler agnostic. Okay. And because Portworx has its own KVDV, Portworx is aware of the state of the pods, applications, nodes, and behavior, and it will take actions on any possible failure. Okay. Also, it stores cluster membership, so it's the single source of truth for what's happening in the cluster, and has a declarative model volume configuration. Portworx can be deployed in this hyperconverged model, which is have your applications and your storage in the same cluster, everything is together, and Portworx is going to be able to see what storage you have attached to that cluster. Okay, fairly easy. But then you can do a disaggregated model where you are storing your data somewhere else in a compute cluster that you only have storage cluster, and then you can have a compute cluster. Okay, in this compute cluster you have your applications. This could be in the cloud, could be in your data center. Again, totally agnostic. We don't care a lot. It's your decision. Okay. So once I run through these kind of short intro how we do things, I want to do kind of a short demo. In this demo, what I'm going to do, and you're going to see with me, is how I'm going to migrate an entire namespace. So I guess everybody is aware of what a namespace is, but in case you're not, a namespace is basically a project where you deploy your services and applications within Kubernetes. Okay. So in this space, in this namespace, I'm going to migrate the whole namespace from cluster 1 in AWS using CP2 instances to cluster 2 in AWS. Okay. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Awesome. I guess you see now my screen. Please, can someone confirm that you guys see my screen? I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So I have my master 1 here, my cluster 1 here, and my cluster 2 here. If I do kubectl, I'll get nodes.
Miguel, would be nice
Yes.
if you can zoom in a little bit, or yeah,
Yeah,
mm,
sure. Yeah, yeah, no problem.
maybe with the font,
Yeah, you got it. Is it better now?
um, maybe one more.
One more? Okay, no problem.
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Great. Awesome. So I'm gonna clear again my screen. I'm gonna do kubectl get nodes. So you see here that I have my master one with 3 nodes and my master two with 3 nodes. Okay. If I go to AWS, you can see that I have my master one with its nodes and my master two with its nodes, right? These are EC2 instances running in AWS. This is the option that we chose, but again, it's totally your choice. That's how we did it because it's easier for us in this case, but you can choose. It's fairly easy to deploy this operator. So in my cluster one, I have, if I do kubectl get namespaces, I have this namespace in here that's called Pet Clinic. Okay. Pet Clinic is just a very basic web app. So if I do kubectl get all MPVCs in my namespace Pet Clinic, I'm going to see that I have my application and my database running, my services, right, with this port, and then deployments, replica set, and my persistent volume plane. Okay, this application is right here. It's a very dummy application. And if I go to find owners and I go find owner, I'm gonna have some data. I'm just for the sake of the demo, I'm gonna add some dummy data. So I'm gonna say Miguel, Rojas, Madrid, Madrid, okay. And I'm gonna add myself to the list, okay? So if I go again to find honors, I'm gonna be right at the bottom. I'm right here, okay? Why do I do that? Because I'm gonna migrate the app and demo. How are you gonna do that, Miguel? Well, I'll show you. So if I clear my screen and I show you how this is done, it's basically for those of you that use Kubernetes, you know that Kubernetes equals YAML. Everything is happening at YAML. So this is no different. So if I do cat in my assets folder, if I do app migration, this is what is used to migrate application. Stork is the open source project that Portworx uses to migrate data, and is the basically the data scheduler within Portworx. So in this case, this YAML is a migration YAML that Stork is going to understand, and the metadata is on app migration. It's in the namespace kube system, and in the spec, you see that we have this cluster pair. What is that? The cluster pair is kind of the handshake that's used between cluster and Portworx to create this channel of communication. Once this channel is created, you're able to send data from cluster to cluster. And in this spec file, we're going to tell Portworx to include the resources and also start the application, because we want to set the replica set to 1. So we want Portworx to start the applications once it migrates the data, right? And then once you specify this, you have to specify what namespaces do you want to move. Sorry. In this case, the namespace, as you know, is spec clinic. Okay. So far so good, right? I'm not saying something that's really weird, or I'm basically covering Kubernetes aspects in this demo and Portworx, obviously. So once I show you this, let me do actually kubectl get cluster pair, so you guys know that I'm not lying to you. In all the namespaces, as sites analyzed, as I said, remote cluster, right? Same name here. What cluster pair are we going to use for the migration, Miguel? Remote cluster. Same name. Great. So what I would have to do now, because I want you guys to see this live, I'm just going to do watch kubectl and get namespaces. This is going to be happening every 2 seconds. So once I activate this migration, because this is a one-time thing, the whole namespace is going to be migrated. So let's do it. Kubectl apply f. assets app migration. Okay. Once I do these, I can say stork ctl get migrations in namespace cube system. Oh, we see that something's happening. Let's actually watch this. So we can see that it's in progress. The volumes that it has to migrate is just one. Let's give it, it usually takes like a minute to migrate the whole namespace. So far, nothing's happening in my destination cluster. We see that after a couple of seconds, nothing has happened yet. Let's give it a minute. Zero volumes have been migrated. It's weird. Let's see what's happening. Oh, there you go. That clinic just appeared 13 seconds ago. As you can see here in a more detailed migration log, it was migrating my volume first, my data, my services, and now here, after 1 minute, it was 1 minute, right? Yeah, it took 1 minute and 20 seconds to migrate the whole namespace and everything. So if I go to my destination cluster, I do kubectl get all mpvc from my namespace pet clinic, we can see that this is running already. My namespace, sorry, my database is running, right? It's one-to-one. This is a crash loop. This happens, right? In a minute, in a second, actually. It will restart and try again. There you go. Now it's running. Let's wait for a one-to-one. Let's actually watch this. There you go. It's one-to-one. So if I go now to, this is my cluster one. This is the URL that AWS provided me, but let's change to cluster two. My master two has a different URL, right? And if I go to the same port and I write 333, which is the port, I see that my application is running. And if I go to find owners and I go here, find honors. Oh, I am right here, right? So what I'm proving with this demo is that I was able to migrate application and data services and pods in 1 minute and 20 seconds between clusters hosted in the same region. This could happen to you in your cluster, but this is just one of the use cases that we try to cover with Portworx. You can do disaster recovery, backup, or one of all of these use cases that you can have in house. So you might in your house, I mean, you can be in the need of migrating applications, but also backup, disaster recovery, HA between zones, regions, and all of these use cases that can happen between Kubernetes application using data. If you have any question, please feel free to drop me an email. If you want to try the product, as you can see in this slide, www.powers.com. You can try for free, deploy it, use it for 30 days, be happy about it. And if you are happy, just drop us an email and contact us, okay? Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you're not ready for these because you just use stateless applications. But if you're ready, just feel free to reach us out, okay? I hope you enjoyed the session. That's it for me.
Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah, no problem.
We have some questions
Okay.
in the Q&A, and I'm gonna read it out.
Yeah, so can you use Portworx for databases or is it more for data storage? So you can, so now with Portworx data services, you can actually use Portworx as your catalog for databases. This is a new product that we're launching. It's called PDS. So PDS is a catalog, is the first catalog in the market that's able to provide data services in a click, in a couple of clicks, and your developers can actually deploy their applications, the data services applications in Kubernetes in a couple of clicks. But Portworx is for databases, it's for data storage, it does both things. Okay. Why would someone choose Portworx over other enterprise backup solution for Kubernetes? Why would someone choose Portworx over open source solutions like Velero? So these are great questions. So why would someone choose Portworx over other enterprise backup solutions? Well, there are many good backup solutions in the market. What you are not getting with other solutions is this holistic view, or this holistic idea of using Kubernetes in production, because backup is just one problem that you have to fix. But what if you have to fix disaster recovery or managing different PVCs in different regions? What if you're using EKS? EKS, as you know, it limits you to one zone. So once you are deploying your EKS cluster in production in AWS, you are limited to that zone. Well, what if you are spending 1,000 euros a month in storage in Paris, but you want to use your applications in London? Portworx is the tool that you can put in the middle to create this abstraction layer. And then why would someone choose Portworx over open source solutions? These are great questions. So when you use, and I tell you from my experience, I spent 5 years at Red Hat. When you use open source products, you have a lot of freedom. You can do whatever you want because you are the king, right? You don't have a vendor in your neck telling you what to do. But when you're running applications in production, you kind of need these, you need someone that's the expert. Sometimes you can always do it yourself, obviously, but you want someone that's going to help you. And the last thing you want when you're offering a production environment service is to be alone and also to not have the solution. And when you're running these open source solutions, you have to use all your very senior our engineers because they are the ones maintaining, right? They are the ones maintaining that solution. And what you want to do with these minds that you're hired for your company is to put them to work, to innovate, to do amazing stuff, to make you more valuable. But if they have to maintain the environment, that's use time for them. Okay. Then why is use Portworx for migration on DR if you could apply on your own manifest that would create the same namespace in a different region with arguments you get Portworx. Yeah. So the benefit that you get for Portworx from disaster recovery solutions is that, as you said, you don't need to write anything manually. You just apply a YAML and it's going to do this for you in lapses of time. So you can do 1 minute, you can do 3 minutes, and you can be adding and changing as much as you want. And you don't need to write all of these, manually moving your data, manually doing things, which is dangerous in production. That's not what you want when you're running. There are, as I said, there are many options in the market, but if you want backup, disaster recovery, migration, autopilot, and all of these things that I mentioned in my slides, Portworx is the leader. And again, I'm not the one telling you, I'm not selling you the idea. It's the market and the customers saying that. Okay. That's one of the reasons I moved from Red Hat to this company because the product is great and it works very well.
Wonderful. Look like all of our questions have been answered, and there is nothing more in the chat right now. So
Awesome. Please feel free to drop me an email. I'm gonna leave it in
in the chat, please. So
here.
if you
Yeah.
could mention your put your link, if you could put the LinkedIn URL and
Oh
maybe
yeah,
your
yeah,
email,
yeah. Just give me a
that would
sec.
be amazing. Meanwhile, next we're gonna take an hour and 15 minutes break now, and we will continue in this track. And thank you very much, Miguel, for your
Yeah, of
wonderful
course.
session.
You got it. Hope you
Was a
enjoyed.
pleasure.
Bye.